Welcome to Tony Martignetti Nonprofit Radio coverage of Day 2 of NTC, the Nonprofit Technology Conference 2015. We're hosted by NTEN, the Nonprofit Technology Network, and we're in Austin, Texas at the Convention Center. My guests are Harmony Eichsteadt, Brett Schenker, and Laura Packard, and their topic is the secret science of email deliverability. Harmony is an evangelist for NationBuilder. Brett Schenker is email deliverability specialist. We're going to learn all about that at Every Action. And Laura Packard is partner at PowerThru Consulting. Harmony, Brett, Laura, welcome.
Thanks.
you.
We got. I'm starting something new with each interview today. On Day 2, we're featuring a swag item, and I'm wearing the first item of the day from @Pay. Here's my @Pay T-shirt. Passwords suck. There you go. Swag item number 1 for NTC Day number 2. We're gonna pile them up. I'm dying to hear from the email deliverability specialist, because before I learned about this session, I didn't know that such a job exists. But I think it's going to be reassuring to people. It's not that it's scary at all, but
No, it's scary.
I think it's maybe it's scary to you. It's scary that we need one, maybe that we need them. But I think it's reassuring to people. What does an email deliverability specialist do day to day?
Day to day, pretty much I spend every waking minute making sure that every email sent has the best chance of getting to the inbox.
All right, cool. I'm glad. It is reassuring to know that people are there. And the topic is the secret science of email deliverability. Laura, why is this a problem? Why? Yeah. Why?
Well, the problem is that many emails don't go to their intended recipients.
Yeah.
They go to spam, or they don't get delivered
Why?
at all.
Why? Is that what we're going to talk about today? Why is that?
Yes.
Okay. And how to prevent it?
Yes. And the problem is that people don't even know it's an issue, so they don't know what they should be doing to make it better.
They don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
Harmony, we don't even know it's a problem.
Yeah,
I
I think a lot of times people don't know it's a problem, and they don't know how to even go about thinking about what it means to get an email to the right person, or what they might be doing wrong that prevents the email from getting to that person.
Okay. All right. Brett, what just generally, because we got plenty of time together, what the hell's going on in the networks that creates a deliverability problem?
Well, it started really the focus of email a long time ago, where it was list size. You talk to press, you talk to your investors, you talk to your board, any of those people, and it's always how big is your email list, and that's what they cared about, and that was the focus. Over time, the shift of email providers like Google, Yahoo, all them, of helping their clients and their customers be happy, changed over the years. So back in the day, it used to be just content. Nigerian scam, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But now it's changed to how people are interacting with your lists. And it's been a fundamental change. And really, unless you do email deliverability or email full-time, you have no idea that this change happened. And it's really relatively in the last 2 years that this change has really occurred. So now list size doesn't matter anymore, but people are still focused on that. There's a report by Return Path that came out not that long ago, and 13% of all email went to spam or missing last year.
13%.
13%. And I'm going to really talk more about it at the panel, but I've been doing a white paper and a study, and found on Giving Tuesday, it's closer to 24% for nonprofits is going to spam. So almost 1 in 4 messages aren't even getting there.
Yeah.
At the end of your fundraising, we're talking more like 11%. And you do the math on that, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of lost opportunity. So it's just a very different focus. Email is in a very different place than it was, a year or 2 ago.
Okay. Even that recent. Okay.
Yeah.
Just past couple of years.
Yeah, I
All
mean, email shifts literally daily.
Okay. So we got a good amount of time together to spend now that we've got some motivation out of the way on what to do about this. Harmony, let's start right here. What's the first tip strategy suggestion you got?
Sure. So I think the first thing I would say, there's lots of really technical things, which I think is why it's important to work with places that have email deliverability specialists. I'm not one, but we've got one as well to help really focus on that. But even if you're not super technical, I think the biggest thing you can do is just think about email and remember that there's actually a human being on the other end of that, and that you want to talk to them like they're a human being. So don't yell at them over and over again with the same message if they're not responding. Think about how different people are going to want to hear different kinds of messages. Remember to talk to them more than just once a year, so not just on Giving Tuesday, but build a relationship throughout the year. So sort of remembering that it's actually a human being and thinking about how human beings like to communicate, I think just that alone will start to increase your email deliverability.
Oh, really? Okay. And those are all very good suggestions,
Yeah.
not to minimize them at all, but I don't see how those, what's the connection? How do those impact deliverability, which is determined by automated systems?
Totally. So I think sort of what Brett was saying with the way that your emails will get delivered is based more on the engagement of your list than the size of it. So if you've got a really engaged list, then more of your emails will make it to the inbox. And the way you get a really engaged list is that you talk to people about the things they care about, so they open your emails, right? So if I email you about something that has nothing to do with your life, you're not going to open that email. Maybe you'll only open the ones that relate to your state or to topics that you care about. But if I make sure that I'm smart about only sending people emails about things that are relevant to their interests or their location, then that means more of the time you'll open the emails for me, which will then increase your reputation over time. More of your emails will get into the inbox, which increases your engagement, and it sort of becomes this virtuous cycle. And
for those who are listening to the podcast and don't have the benefit of the video, lots of nods from Brett and Laura. So this is a unanimous recommendation. Brett, I'm trying to get to the science of this. How do the automated filters, is that an okay word?
Yeah.
How do they know how engaged your list is?
So just like so many things out there, what Google, Yahoo, Hotmail, all of them know about you and your email habits is freaky. Google literally measures how long you spend opening your email before you delete it or click, down to microseconds.
So and they know who that email is from?
Yeah, so they'll know by the from address, they'll know from the IP that's sent from, the headers that are in the email, like so many things. They're able to track who is sending it. And altogether, they measure it. So it's everything from, did someone open it and did they immediately delete it? Did they just delete it? Did they forward it? Did they reply back? Did they move it from their spam box to their inbox? Did they move it from the inbox to a folder? All that's measured.
Son of a gun. Gmail. Gmail is.
Yeah. So Gmail is actually one of the hardest.
All preserved.
Yeah. So Gmail, last I heard, it's a couple years old. It was like 27% of all email sent to Gmail goes to spam. Talking to people at Gmail, they don't even know all the rules. It's hidden. Like, they don't want everyone to know everything.
Yeah.
So
they don't want anybody. They don't want one person.
Because they don't want you to game the system.
Yeah.
So.
Oh my gosh.
What they measure, it's freaky. And then when it all started way back in the day. I mean, the first spam was sent in like the 70s, I think. From there, it's Bayesian learning. So they have this algorithm that's learning from everyone's reactions and doing its best to figure out what to do with the emails. We kind of joke that it's Skynet. It's this learning system that sooner or later is going to rise up and take over. It's beyond intelligent to making these decisions, millions of decisions in fractions of a second.
Remarkable. Okay, Laura, what else beyond the engaged list?
I would be careful how you obtain emails in the first place. Make sure that the people that are on your list want to be there, that you don't just swap a list with somebody and the people don't even know who you are, let alone want to hear from you, because those people are not going to be engaged and they're going to bring down the quality of your list.
Okay. Anybody want to amplify the... Watch who you get your list from.
I mean,
Harmony.
I think that's so important. There's, in many ways, I think email deliverability is sort of like the dark arts. It's occult and tricky, and we don't know all of the things that they do, but we know some of them. And one of the things that can be really dangerous is that there are like honey trap emails that will be on bot lists.
Okay, we have jargon jail on nonprofit radio. And you are a severe offender.
Let me explain.
What was the phrase again?
Honey trap emails.
Honey trap email.
So
what is it?
Their email address is set up to catch you if you buy a list of emails. So if you buy a list, one of them could have been set up by Google, and they know if anybody sends an email to it, that you bought a list.
Very common.
They seed
Yep.
lists that are potentially going to be sold?
Yep.
Or they just seed every list in case it's ever sold?
So they
How
they do it a
ubiquitous
couple
is it?
ways. These are also called spam traps, and there's really like two types. There's what's known as pristine, and then you can call the others like basically used or expired addresses. Recycled, tons of different terms. So the pristine are never used as a real address. So they will put it on a website for bots to pick up, and they literally throw it out there to get caught. They want bots to steal it. And then if it winds up, clearly it's not organic. They didn't sign up because there's no way in hell this is used.
Right.
And then the recycled address are old addresses that have gone out of use. And then they flip them after a time period, 6 months to a year, depending on the system. Some of them are like a couple months. And basically, if you're not cutting your list and getting rid of these addresses, clearly you don't really care about your list.
You're not maintaining your list.
Right. So
But-
at that point, you're a bad
Son
actor.
of a gun.
And then it becomes very hard to get
Yeah.
any of your emails into an inbox.
Once you're a known offender,
Yep.
Yeah.
big nods. I love the nod. What do you, Laura? What more do you? What if you are a known offender? What, is there any rehabilitation possible?
Well, if you are running into deliverability problems, one of the first things you should do is cut off the people that haven't been responding recently to your emails. Just stop emailing them. Only email to the people that are engaging with your emails. And you can slowly add back people and then see what happens, but you need to go down to your known good list and just use that for a while until you break through all of these algorithms on these ISPs so that you can be delivered again.
Okay, so it's sort of like rebuilding up your credit.
Yeah.
You get a card that has a fixed amount that you paid in advance. You have to rehabilitate your reputation.
Yep.
It's true. Wow.
It's
cool.
what a lot of people describe it as. It's a lot like credit in that, like a new organization with a new list, these email providers don't know who you are. So they give you a very low credit limit.
Yeah.
And you have to build up a good reputation. And sooner or later, you're good. And you can pretty much do what you want until you cause trouble.
I have a threshold question. We got to go back to. You said earlier on, all three, that you may not know you have a problem, but aren't you getting bounce backs, or no? Are you not all the time getting bounce backs? Anybody? What?
So, yes and no. So you get bounce backs, but bounce backs might not be a sign of anything horrible. It could just be that an inbox was filled. That's a bounce.
That's innocuous.
Yeah.
Right. That's certainly not your fault. As
Right,
the
exactly.
Sender. Yeah.
It could be just the system was down at that time, which is actually really common. Tubes break all the time, and I think Yahoo always kind of goes down.
Okay.
So that could be an issue, or it could be the account just doesn't exist anymore or is shut down. And then what happens is, at least with these spam traps and the honeypots, is they'll bounce it for 6 months, maybe a year, and then at that point they cut it off. So if you're swapping lists or buying lists, especially for someone that has a horrible habit,
I see.
you won't necessarily know because they might not be bouncing anymore. I always call it, when I've described it, is it's an STD. They've been with someone, then they've been with someone, then they've been with someone.
Yes.
It's spam transmitted disease.
Spam transmitted.
And
Yeah, very
then, you catch something, and you might not know it's a problem. The best description I've heard from anyone, it's zombies. And that 1 or 2 is not an issue. Sooner or later, the horde shows up, and you're out of luck at that point.
Okay.
And you need to do some serious work.
All right, cool. All right, thank you. Go ahead, Laura. Yeah.
Also, every mass email provider handles things a little bit differently. So you may or may not see big flashing red lights. You may or may not know that there's a problem.
Okay. Okay.
Absolutely, and it depends too on where you're looking and if you're actually going to check to see if you've got bounces. So I think depending again on what provider you're using, you may not be even clicking on the place where there are the big red flags.
Okay. Okay. Brett, let's not turn to you only to amplify suggestions, but let's say if you give an organic suggestion. This is again. We're back now to avoiding deliverability problems.
I think the biggest is cut the list. That's the one thing no one does. Very few folks do. Is you cut your list. You want it small, lean, and active. You might have a 1 million person list, but if only 1,000 people are opening and clicking, that's not really impressive. If I have a 5,000 person list and 5,000 people are opening and clicking, it's way better than the 1 million person list.
Yeah.
But that logic and that thought isn't present generally.
People are looking more at the vanity metric.
Yeah.
How many likes have I got on my Facebook page?
It's that activity.
How many people on my list? So outdated thinking.
Yeah,
okay.
It's very outdated.
Okay. Other suggestions? Yeah, go ahead, Laura.
You should try to get
Well, it
your...
was very polite. Laura raised her hand. It was a little subtle, but it was very, very thoughtful. Thank you.
You should try to get your list to engage more, because that's something else that the ISPs are looking at, is how many people are opening, clicking, taking action.
All right. Got to be tips for what can we do?
Right. So send out an action to your list, or send out a survey, something that people are going to want to engage with, because just reading your emails may not be good enough to get you out of the ditch.
A simple forward. Some call to action we're looking for. Is that right? But it's got to be measurable. Yeah. Don't just not pick up the phone. That's no good. Because the email services are not going to. The ISPs are not going to recognize that.
Not yet.
Okay.
Maybe
Right,
someday.
not yet. Well, yeah, if they're coordinating with another agency,
Exactly.
there could. That's not
That's
so
coming.
far. That's not inconceivable. All right. What other little tips have you got for simple calls to action?
Surveys are massive. People love to talk about themselves.
Link to a survey.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Especially if they're opening it at work and they want to procrastinate what they're doing, and they can spend 5 minutes filling out a survey. I think that's a really great one.
Survey's cool. Forward is good. We got another one? Any simple?
Be very specific to the individuals. I mean, mine, I think if you asked, I think a lot of people here, they probably send the same email to everyone.
Yeah.
And it's lazy. No two emails should be the same that you're sending out. It should be very tailored to the individual and very specific to their wants and how they signed up and what they care about. The best example I always give is corporate world is Amazon. The emails you get from Amazon are beyond tailored, to the obnoxious level. Like, you go look at a item, they'll email you 2 days later with that item, and here's a whole bunch of other suggestions. There's no other email that looks like that goes out. And that's what we're all striving and moving towards.
Personalized email.
Beyond personalized.
All right, suppose we have a list of, modest size, maybe our listeners are small and mid-sized nonprofits. So let's take a 5,000 person list, small in the big scheme of email. Do we need a service to help us to personalize to this granular level that we're talking about? We don't.
I think what you want is to have a system where it's easy for you to tell a lot of different things about people. So, like, which of those people follow you on Twitter and which of them don't? Because you could say, hey, thanks for setting up for the email list. We'd also love to engage with you on Twitter, to the people who don't, right? Which people are your donors, which people aren't? Which people live in Texas versus California? Which people have RSVP'd for events in the past versus haven't. And all of those things tell you a lot of different data. So you could say, cool, here's our people in Texas who are donors, who've come to events. We want to send them a specific email about that. Like, thanks for all of your participation this year. That's really wonderful.
And actually, you could gather this by one of the other suggestions, have a survey.
Exactly.
Have a survey. Now you've got a bunch of data, and it's targeted to that person because because we know that they clicked through on their email link to the survey.
And they told you what they care about.
Yeah, yeah.
If you do it right.
Okay. Excellent.
But the others, depends how they sign up. Like, if you are an organization that takes on many issues and you have an action that's very specific, that person cares about that action. So you should test it out and see if that's the one action they care about. There's some orgs that I know do environmental and maybe banking too, or and they'll send the banking stuff to the environmental people, which makes no sense. Because that's not what they care about. So, paying attention to how they interact and where they sign up and what actions they take is key. The simplest is just the donors. At the end of the year, if someone's never donated online, why are you sending a fundraising ask? Ask them to do something else. Say, it's end of year. I know you're getting a lot of donation asks. How about share this instead, and then maybe their friends will donate? Because they're not going to donate. You've asked them 100 times. I don't think the 101st is going to get them to chip in $5.
Yeah.
So ask them to do something else.
Okay, let's stick with the deliverability recommendations. Who's got another suggestion for improving deliverability?
I think another one is just to have your emails be simple. Like, a lot of times people want them to have, borders and embedded videos and get really complicated. But just because that technology exists doesn't mean you should use it. And the most deliverable emails have, no videos, maybe not even any pictures or just one. They have simple subject lines. And the more complicated you get, the higher reputation you have to even get in an inbox, because it just looks really spammy to the filters.
Now, but video is increasingly recommended in email. No, Brett is on the fence about that. Not so much. I
It's-
mean, I hear I know it's being recommended.
It's being recommended. It's not supported in a lot of email providers. That's the other thing is, what looks good in Gmail doesn't look good in Yahoo, doesn't look good on Gmail on the phone versus Gmail on the web. It's all different. Your email will look different in every single provider. We were just talking about this on a list. I don't know if you're on the list. They were talking about GIFs, and someone was like,
GIFs.
"Oh, yeah,
What's a
the
GIF?
moving
Right.
image."
Okay.
And that's becoming more and more in emails beyond video because it's supported a bit more. But someone's like, "Oh, I got to do this," and I was like, "Oh, no, because you have Outlook users and it doesn't work in Outlook. So unless you know who's in Outlook, you shouldn't be sending this."
So what does it look like then? Just a square with a question mark in the middle of it?
Broken image. Just it'll be an image that's not moving. So unless your first image is solid, it looks really goofy.
Yeah.
And there's entire services that are built up just to handle that sort of stuff. And you can do amazing things, and the ROI on it is amazing and impressive. But I mean, at that point, you really need to know what you're doing.
Okay, and we're starting to get now. You need expertise to
Yeah.
help you with your email. So if budget is an issue, better to keep it simple and link to the video
Totally.
somewhere else.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
and you can take a screenshot of the video
Yeah,
with
right.
a
That's
hyperlink.
right. That's right. Yeah.
Let
yeah.
people click it.
Okay, Laura, you got another one?
I agree with what Harmony said about keeping it simple, and also make sure that your emails perform well on mobile, because more and more email is being opened up on mobile devices, on smartphones, on tablets. It's a third or more. It might even be half or more these days.
Approaching half.
Yeah, so you need to make sure that your emails do well on mobile, because if it doesn't look good, half your audience is going to give up.
Now that's pretty standard with bulk email providers, isn't it? Like Yahoo. I mean, Mailchimp. Not so standard, really. The mobile optimization. No,
No.
not really. All right, so you need to investigate.
There needs to be there's more than just using their mobile responsive template.
Okay.
There's much more to that. I mean, like a great example would be what you have in the email. If you ask for a fundraising ask and people are reading it in mobile, then you might need to make it really easy to give money. So if their landing page off that mobile is difficult and you have to fill out a whole bunch of fields, it's wasted.
It's too much trouble.
Yeah. So it's beyond just using their templates. Your image has to be the right size. Your format has to be a certain way. Your ask should be a certain way. It's not just using a template.
Okay.
And
Okay.
if your organization has been around a while, probably your email templates date back a couple years, and they are probably not mobile optimized.
All right, we have like another minute and a half or so, roughly. Let's share some more. I mean, you guys are talking for 90 minutes. There's got to be more. what have you not shared yet? Don't hold out. Or we can go into more detail on something you've already shared.
I think the big one is don't get on your high horse. I think a lot of nonprofits, political organizations feel that they can do whatever they want when it comes to email. And that's not the world that we live in. There's very set rules, no matter what the law says. Many of them hide behind like the Spam Act or canned spam in the U.S. But there's more than just that when it comes to laws. So there's a legal aspect to all of it. And I know I deal with a lot of time when someone gets busted and they always hide behind that and be like, no, we can do whatever we want. We're a nonprofit or a political organization.
That's not true.
And I'm just like, they don't care. The thing to keep in mind is Gmail, Yahoo, all them, they have clients and customers too. They need to keep them happy. So your sending email costs them money. So they don't care. This isn't the post office where they're,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Harmony?
I think my final thought would be that email isn't the only thing out there, and it should be part of a holistic strategy. So
good, yeah.
you should
Amen.
think about text.
Multi-channel.
Totally, exactly.
Yeah.
Text blasting and phone calls and social media and door knocking. I mean, there's lots of ways to talk to people. And you don't, even though email can seem to be the easiest because you just hit click, if you're thinking sort of your long-term goals, it's not necessarily the most effective thing, and it's not the only thing out there. So you want to just include all of your options.
Okay, including all the social channels as well,
Exactly.
naturally. Okay.
Right.
Laura, anything you want to end us up with?
I would just say that keep in mind, just because you want to send something doesn't mean that your audience wants to receive it. That you need to keep in mind their wants and their needs and make sure that you aren't talking just to hear yourself speak, that you are delivering your information in a way that your audience wants to hear it or they will tune out.
Okay. You guys, have you done your panel already? Or
Nope, it's
No.
later today.
Oh, you're gonna have a lot of fun. I can tell. Your audience is gonna love you. Okay, I'm gonna recommend yours. I want to thank you very much. Thanks everybody.
You so
Thank
much.
you.
They are Harmony Eichsteadt, Evangelist for NationBuilder, and Brett Schenker, our email deliverability specialist with Every Action, and Laura Packard, partner at PowerThru Consulting. Thank you again.
Thank you.
This is Tony Martignetti, Nonprofit Radio coverage of NTC, the Nonprofit Technology Conference. And thank you for being with us.